Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching Europa spin slowly below him. The ice-covered moon looked peaceful in the morning light, but Jake knew that was about to change. His communication officer turned toward him with worry written across her face. "Captain, we're getting a priority message from the Galactic Council," she said. "It's marked as urgent." Jake nodded and moved to his command chair. He had been expecting bad news for weeks now. The tension between humanity and the other alien races had been growing stronger each month. The 23 species that made up the Galactic Council seemed to find new reasons to complain about human activities every day. The main screen flickered to life, showing the cold face of Ambassador Kethvar from the Zalani Dominion. The tall, gray-skinned alien looked down at Jake with obvious disgust. Behind Kethvar, Jake could see representatives from other council races, all wearing the same expression of superiority and impatience. "Captain Morrison," Kethvar began, his voice carrying that familiar tone of authority that all council members used when speaking to humans. "I am speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council majority. We have reached a decision regarding humanity's continued membership in our organization." Jake felt his stomach tighten. He had been afraid this moment would come, but hearing it still felt like a punch to the gut. 15 years ago, humanity had been so proud to join the Galactic Council. They thought it meant they had finally earned their place among the stars. Now it seemed that place was being taken away. "The Council has voted," Kethvar continued, reading from a formal document. "Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. You have violated too many of our laws and treaties. Your species shows no respect for proper galactic order." The alien's eyes narrowed as he listed humanity's supposed crimes. "You have expanded into the Vega sector without permission. You have developed quantum weapons in direct violation of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Most seriously, you have refused to surrender your dangerous military technologies for proper council oversight." Jake wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it all, but the situation was too serious. Every charge was either false or based on actions that other council races had taken without consequence. The Mordani Republic had expanded into 6 new systems just last year. The Zalani themselves had quantum weapons that could destroy entire planets. But somehow, when humans did anything similar, it became a crime against galactic peace. Kethvar was not finished. "The Council demands complete compliance with the following terms. You have 30 standard days to disarm all human military forces. You will dismantle every human colony outside the Sol system. You will surrender your entire space fleet to Council forces for proper disposal." The other aliens on the screen nodded their approval. Jake could see the satisfaction in their faces. They had been planning this for a long time, waiting for the right moment to put humanity back in what they considered its proper place. Furthermore, the Zalani ambassador continued, "Humanity will accept reclassification as a Category 4 developing species. You will submit to Council Protectorate status and accept guidance from more advanced civilizations." That was the final insult. Category 4 status was what the Council gave to species that had barely invented spaceflight. After 15 years of equal membership, after all the contributions humanity had made to galactic science and culture, they wanted to treat humans like children who could not govern themselves. Jake cut the transmission without responding. There was nothing to say that would change their minds. The decision had already been made in secret, probably months ago. This was just the formal announcement. He immediately opened a secure channel to Admiral Lisa Parker at Terra Command on Earth. The Admiral's face appeared on his private screen within seconds. She already looked tired, which meant she had been expecting this call. "They did it, didn't they?" Admiral Parker asked before Jake could speak. "Complete expulsion," Jake confirmed. 30 days to surrender everything we've built out here. They want to reduce us to protectorate status." Admiral Parker closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, Jake saw something he had never seen before. It was not fear or sadness. It was cold, calculating anger. "Jake, I need you to send a message to every human ship and station in your sector. Tell them to prepare for Protocol 7. Full implementation, no delays." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Protocol 7 was something they had all hoped would never be necessary. It was the plan they had developed in secret, just in case the Council ever tried something like this. Most humans in the fleet knew it existed, but very few knew what it actually involved. "Admiral, are you sure?" Jake asked. "Once we start Protocol 7, there's no going back." "They made that choice for us," Admiral Parker replied. 15 years, Jake. 15 years we tried to work with them to prove we belonged. They never intended to treat us as equals. They were just waiting for the right moment to put us back in our cage. Jake thought about all the times human proposals had been rejected in council meetings, all the times human colonies had been denied expansion rights while alien species took whatever they wanted, all the times human scientists had been excluded from research projects or had their discoveries stolen by council members who claimed the credit. "What about Dr. Chen?" Jake asked, referring to humanity's lead representative to the council. "Alex has been documenting their discrimination for years. He has files that prove they never intended to honor our membership rights. The evidence shows this was planned from the beginning." Admiral Parker's expression hardened. "They thought our diplomacy meant we were weak. They thought our restraint meant we were helpless. Today they learn the difference." Jake nodded slowly. He had spent his entire career trying to be a good representative of humanity among the stars. He had followed every council regulation, respected every treaty, and tried to build bridges with alien species who clearly had no interest in friendship. Now it was time for something different. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "President Rodriguez is addressing the United Earth Assembly in 6 hours. After that, every human in the galaxy will know what the Council has done to us." Admiral Parker paused. "Jake, make sure your people understand this is not about revenge, this is about survival. They want to destroy everything we've built. We cannot let that happen." The transmission ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. Outside his window, Europa continued its slow rotation, unchanged by the political crisis unfolding above it. But Jake knew that everything else was about to change forever. He turned to his communication officer. "Send the Protocol 7 activation code to every ship in the sector. Then prepare the crew for immediate departure." The woman nodded and began typing rapidly at her console. Within minutes, coded messages were racing across space to dozens of human vessels. The age of human cooperation with the Galactic Council was ending. The age of human independence was about to begin. The response came faster than anyone expected. Within 72 hours of the Council's ultimatum, every human ship in alien space had simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not captured, just gone. The vanishing was so complete that many alien commanders initially thought their sensors had malfunctioned. Admiral Lisa Parker stood in the command center of Terra Station, watching reports flow in from across human space. Each message confirmed what she already knew. Protocol 7 was working perfectly. After 5 years of secret preparation, humanity was finally showing its true capabilities. On her main screen, she could see the confused reactions of Council fleets throughout the galaxy. Alien commanders were sending increasingly frantic messages to their homeworlds, demanding to know how an entire species could disappear overnight. The answer was simple, but they would never think to look for it. Captain Sam Wright smiled as he watched Arcturus grow smaller in his rear display. His ship, the New Horizons, had been conducting a routine survey mission when the recall order came. To any alien observer, his vessel would appear to be a simple exploration craft, equipped with basic sensors and minimal weapons. They had no idea what they were really looking at. Dr. Elena Foster had spent 8 years developing the quantum phase generators that now powered every human ship. The technology was so far beyond anything the Council races possessed that they could not even detect its operation. Human vessels did not become invisible in the traditional sense. They simply shifted slightly out of normal space-time, existing in a quantum state that alien sensors could not perceive. Sam engaged the phase drive and felt the familiar tingling sensation as his ship moved between dimensions. Around him, his crew worked calmly at their stations. They had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times, but never for real. Now that the moment had come, everyone knew exactly what to do. The Council's reaction was predictable. Fleet Commander Zexthul of the Mordani Republic assembled the largest joint task force in galactic history. Representatives from 16 different species contributed ships and personnel. Their mission was simple: travel to Earth and force humanity to comply with Council demands. Zexthul was confident this would be easy. Humans had always been the weakest military force in the Council. Their ships were small, their weapons were primitive, and their tactics were conventional. A show of overwhelming force should be enough to make them surrender without a fight. The joint fleet arrived in the Sol system expecting to find human ships hiding behind Earth's moon or clustered around the major colonies. Instead, they found empty space. Earth's orbital stations were still there, along with the industrial complexes around Mars and the research facilities on the outer planets. But there was no sign of humanity's military forces. Commander Rachel Green watched the alien fleet's arrival from her position aboard Liberty Station, hidden deep within the asteroid belt. The facility was officially listed as a mining operation, and its exterior certainly looked the part. Massive excavation equipment covered the surface, and cargo ships regularly arrived to collect processed materials. What the Council had never realized was that Liberty Station was actually a fortress. The mining equipment was real, but it served a dual purpose. The excavated asteroids provided raw materials for weapons production, while the station itself housed some of humanity's most advanced military technology. Rachel counted over 300 alien ships spreading throughout the Sol system. They moved in the standard Council formation, designed to look impressive rather than tactically sound. Their commanders were more concerned with showing their power than with actually fighting a war. That was their first mistake. The aliens landed shuttles on Earth without opposition. They marched into major cities, expecting to find cowering crowds and desperate government officials ready to negotiate. Instead, they found normal human activity. People went to work, children attended school, and life continued as if nothing had happened. Dr. Alex Chen was waiting for them in the United Nations building. The Galactic Council's former human representative sat alone at the negotiation table, reading a book and sipping coffee. When Fleet Commander Zexthul and his entourage arrived, Chen looked up with mild interest. "You are early," Chen said politely. "I was not expecting you for another hour." Zexthul's 4 eyes narrowed with confusion and anger. The Mordani had expected to find Chen hiding or begging for mercy. Instead, the human seemed completely unconcerned by the invasion force that had just occupied his planet. "Where are your weapons?" Zexthul demanded. "Where are your ships? Where is your military?" Chen smiled and gestured to the empty chairs around the table. "Please sit down. We have much to discuss." "Answer my questions," the alien commander roared. "The Council demands the immediate surrender of all human military assets. You will comply or face the consequences." "The consequences," Chen repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, I suppose there will be consequences, but perhaps not the ones you expect." Stood up and walked to the large window overlooking New York Harbor. The alien fleet's shuttles were visible in the distance, along with their larger ships in orbit above. Chen watched them for a moment, then turned back to face his guests. "Commander Zexthul, you asked about our weapons and ships. The answer is quite simple." Chen's smile widened. "You are looking at them." Before the alien could respond, alarms began sounding on his portable communicator. Similar alerts were echoing from the devices carried by every member of his staff. The sounds came from orbit, where the Joint Council fleet was discovering that their technology was no longer working properly. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Torres activated the first demonstration from his control room beneath Luna City. The base was officially a research facility studying low-gravity manufacturing techniques. In reality, it was the control center for humanity's most sophisticated electronic warfare systems. The quantum viruses were Dr. Elena Foster's masterpiece. Unlike conventional computer programs, they operated at the subatomic level, transmitted through the energy frequencies that alien ships used for basic communication. Once inside an alien system, they began systematically identifying and disrupting key components. The viruses were not designed to destroy alien technology. That would have been crude and wasteful. Instead, they simply prevented the technology from working properly. Weapons would not fire, shields would not activate, and engines would not respond to commands. The alien crews were not in danger, but they were also not in control of their own ships. Above Earth, 300 alien vessels found themselves drifting helplessly in space. Their crews worked frantically to restore basic systems, but every repair was undone within seconds. The quantum viruses adapted faster than any alien technician could work, learning and evolving with each attempt to remove them. Fleet Commander Zexthul stared at his communicator in horror as reports flowed in from his fleet. Ships were going dark one by one. The few vessels that managed to maintain communication reported complete system failures across all major functions. Chen returned to his seat at the negotiation table. Now then, shall we discuss the real situation? The Council has made certain demands of humanity. We have considered those demands carefully, and we have decided to make some counter-proposals. The alien commander was no longer listening. He was frantically trying to contact his superiors, desperate to understand how humanity had gained such incredible technological capabilities. His own species had spent centuries perfecting their military systems, and now those systems were being defeated by invisible weapons they could not even detect. "This is impossible," Zexthul muttered. "Your species lacks the scientific knowledge for such advanced technology." "Do we?" Chen asked mildly. "Commander, your people have made the same mistake that every council race has made for the past 15 years. You assumed that because we chose diplomacy over aggression, we were incapable of anything else. You thought that because we followed your rules, we had no power to break them." Chen stood up again and began pacing around the table. "The truth is, humanity has been preparing for this day since the moment we joined the Council. We knew that most of you saw us as inferior. We knew that our membership was temporary, lasting only until you decided we had outlived our usefulness." He stopped directly in front of the alien commander. "What you never realized is that we were watching you just as carefully as you were watching us. We learned from every interaction, studied every technology, and prepared for every possible scenario, including this one." Zexthul's communicator finally went silent. His entire fleet was now completely disabled, floating in space like expensive debris. The most powerful military force the Council had ever assembled had been neutralized without firing a single shot. Chen returned to his chair and picked up his coffee cup. "Now then, Commander, let us discuss humanity's terms for ending this conflict. I think you will find them quite reasonable." The Galactic Council had walked into the most sophisticated trap in the history of warfare. What they thought was a simple invasion had become a demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. Dr. Elena Foster watched the alien fleet's confusion from her laboratory on Titan, where she had spent the last decade developing weapons that existed outside the normal understanding of physics. The quantum viruses were only the beginning. Every human colony, every research station, every seemingly innocent mining operation had been designed with hidden purposes from the start. The Council races had been so focused on limiting human expansion that they never noticed humans were building something entirely different from what they expected. Captain Jake Morrison materialized, his ship above Mars, leading a squadron of vessels that should not have existed. The sleek angular craft bore no resemblance to the bulky exploration ships that aliens associated with human space travel. These were products of humanity's shadow construction program, built in automated facilities hidden in the dark spaces. Between solar systems, the alien commanders still trapped in Earth orbit watched in growing horror as human ships appeared throughout their formation. The vessels moved with impossible grace, their hulls shimmering with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. More troubling was their size. Each human ship was easily twice as large as the most powerful Council dreadnoughts. Fleet Commander Zexthul stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Moments ago, his sensors had shown empty space around his disabled fleet. Now they detected over 1,000 human vessels, all armed with weapon systems that registered as unknown energy signatures. "How long have they been there?" he whispered to his tactical officer. The young Mordani shook his head frantically. "I do not know, Commander. They simply appeared. Our sensors show no indication of engine signatures or jump drives. It is as if they materialized from nothing. Dr. Amy Foster, Elena's younger sister and head of xenobiology research, activated atmospheric processors on 17 different worlds simultaneously. The machines had been installed as part of standard terraforming operations, designed to maintain breathable atmospheres for human colonists. What the Council had never realized was that they could also produce compounds specifically toxic to alien physiologies. Amy had spent years studying the biological weaknesses of every Council species. Each diplomatic meeting, each cultural exchange, each scientific conference had provided opportunities to gather genetic samples and physiological data. The work had been disguised as medical research, aimed at preventing disease transmission between species. The reality was far more strategic. Amy now possessed detailed biological profiles of every major alien race, including specific knowledge of their respiratory systems, nervous structures, and metabolic processes. The atmospheric processors could generate targeted toxins within hours, creating environments that would be lethal to invaders while remaining harmless to humans. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Torres expanded his electronic warfare campaign beyond the disabled fleet above Earth. Human facilities throughout the galaxy activated quantum transmitters, sending viruses toward every Council military installation they could reach. The signals traveled faster than light, arriving at their destinations before alien commanders even realized they were under attack. On Kepler 442b, the Council's primary military academy went dark as its computer systems failed. On Proxima Centauri, the Zilani Weapons Research Facility found its laboratories sealed by their own security systems. On Wolf 359, the Mordani Naval Shipyard watched helplessly as newly constructed vessels powered down automatically. The psychological impact was devastating. The Council races had built their entire civilization on the assumption that they possessed superior technology and strategic thinking. Humanity's sudden demonstration of overwhelming capability challenged everything they thought they knew about. The galaxy. Admiral Lisa Parker emerged from quantum space above Jupiter, her flagship leading a fleet of ships that defied every principle of alien engineering. The vessels were constructed using dark matter manipulation, a field of science that Council researchers still considered theoretical. Each ship could phase in and out of normal reality at will, making them effectively immortal in conventional combat. She opened communications to every alien commander in the Sol system simultaneously. Her image appeared on hundreds of screens throughout the disabled Council fleet, calm and professional despite the chaos surrounding her. "This is Admiral Parker of the Terran Defense Force," she announced. "Your ships have been disabled as a demonstration of our defensive capabilities. Your crews are in no immediate danger, but you are no longer in control of your vessels." Fleet Commander Zexthol tried to respond, but found his communication systems had been selectively restored to receive only. He could hear the human admiral perfectly, but could not transmit any reply. Parker continued her broadcast. "For 15 years, humanity has attempted to work within the Council system. We have followed your laws, respected your treaties, and contributed to your scientific advancement. In return, you have treated us as second-class citizens and potential threats." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "Today, that relationship changes. You came here expecting to find a weak species, ready to submit to your authority. Instead, you have discovered that humanity has been preparing for this confrontation since the day we joined your organization. Captain Sam Wright's survey ship, now revealed as a deep reconnaissance vessel, led an assault on the Council's military command center at Vega Prime. The installation was protected by the most advanced defensive systems in known space, including energy shields that could withstand direct hits from stellar-class weapons. The human attack bypassed those defenses entirely. Instead of trying to destroy the shields, Wright's team used nanite swarms to convert the defensive systems into human-compatible technology. The transformation took less than 30 minutes, during which the alien defenders could only watch, as their impregnable fortress became a human military base. The nanites were another of Dr. Elena Foster's innovations. Unlike conventional robots, they operated at the molecular level, capable of disassembling and rebuilding matter, according to programmed specifications. They could convert alien technology into human equivalents, or simply render enemy equipment inoperable by removing key components. Dr. Alex Chen stood up from the negotiation table in the United Nations building, leaving Fleet Commander Zexthul and his staff staring at tactical displays that showed their military dominance evaporating in real time. Chen walked to a secure communication terminal and activated a direct link to President Rodriguez. "Madam President," he said formally, "the Council's invasion force has been neutralized. We are ready to proceed to the next phase." President Maya Rodriguez appeared on screens throughout human space, addressing not just her own people but every alien world within transmission range. Her words were calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began. "Today, the Galactic Council attempted to destroy human civilization. They demanded our surrender, our disarmament, and our submission to alien authority. They believed that 15 years of diplomatic cooperation indicated weakness on our part." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "They were wrong. Humanity does not seek conquest or domination. We seek respect and equality. We have demonstrated today that we possess the capability to take whatever we want from any species in the galaxy. We choose not to do so." The President's image was being broadcast simultaneously on thousands of worlds, translated into dozens of alien languages. Every major population center in Council space was receiving her message, along with tactical reports showing the complete collapse of their military forces. "The old Galactic Council is finished," Rodriguez continued. "It was based on the assumption that some species were naturally superior to others. That assumption has been proven false. Humanity offers a new relationship based on genuine equality and mutual respect." She leaned forward slightly, her expression becoming more serious. "To those species that choose cooperation, we offer partnership in building a better galactic civilization. To those that prefer the old system of dominance and submission, we offer this warning: the age of humanity's restraint is over." By the end of her speech, 7 council races had already transmitted formal surrender documents. The others were in full retreat, their military capabilities neutralized and their governments in chaos. The message was clear. Humanity had never been the weakest member of the Galactic Council. They had simply been the most patient. That patience had now reached its end. The war lasted exactly 6 hours and 14 minutes. Commander Rachel Green watched from Liberty Station as the final phase of Operation Prometheus began. The asteroid fortress had served as the central command for humanity's response, coordinating attacks across 12 solar systems simultaneously. What had started as a demonstration of defensive capability was now becoming the most decisive military victory in galactic history. The Council races had never experienced anything like this. Their wars typically lasted for years, sometimes decades, as opposing fleets maneuvered for tactical advantage and slowly ground down each other's resources. The concept of total victory achieved in a single day was beyond their understanding. Captain Sam Wright's task force materialized above Kepler 442b, home to the Council's most important military installation. The fortress had taken 3 centuries to build, representing the combined engineering expertise of 23 different species. It was supposed to be impregnable, protected by quantum shields and armed with weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. Wright's ships bypassed the defenses using technology that should not have existed. Instead of attacking the fortress directly, they deployed clouds of nanites that began converting the alien structure from the inside out. The defensive systems turned against their operators. The weapons platforms redirected their fire toward each other, and the command centers began broadcasting human authorization codes. The transformation was swift and absolute. Within 17 minutes, the fortress that had symbolized Council military might was flying human flags and responding to Terran command protocols. The alien commanders inside found themselves locked in their own quarters, watching helplessly, as their life's work became the property of the species they had tried to destroy. Dr. Amy Foster monitored the biological warfare components of the operation from her laboratory on Europa. The atmospheric processors on 47 different worlds were now generating compounds designed to make the planets uninhabitable for specific alien species. The toxins were not lethal, but they would cause severe discomfort and long-term health problems for any council race that remained in the affected areas. The psychological impact was perhaps more important than the physical effects. For the first time in their history, the council races found themselves facing an enemy that could strike at their homeworlds directly. Their own planets were no longer safe havens where they could retreat and regroup. Humanity had demonstrated the ability to make any world uninhabitable for its enemies, while keeping it perfectly safe for human occupation. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Torres expanded his electronic warfare operations to include civilian infrastructure throughout council space. Transportation networks shut down, communication systems went silent, and manufacturing facilities stopped production. The quantum viruses were programmed to target only military and government systems, but the distinction became meaningless when alien societies discovered how dependent they had become on automated systems. On Proxima Centauri B, the Zelani government found itself unable to communicate with its own military forces. On Wolf 3FD9, the Mordani Republic's administrative computers began displaying human text instead of their native language. On Kepler 186F, the Thrakari Collective watched their entire financial system convert to human currency standards. The aliens had never imagined that their technology could be turned against them so completely. They had spent centuries developing secure systems and fail-safe protocols, but every defense had been anticipated and countered by human engineers who understood their technology better than they did themselves. Admiral Lisa Parker accepted surrender. Messages from fleeing alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Her ships appeared wherever council forces tried to regroup, offering the same choice to every commander: immediate surrender or complete destruction of their vessels. Most chose surrender. After seeing what had happened to the few who had tried to fight, the human fleet was unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. The ships moved faster than light without using jump drives, appeared and disappeared at will, and seemed immune to every weapon the council races could deploy. More disturbing was their apparent infinite number. No matter how many human vessels were engaged, more always appeared to replace any that were damaged or destroyed. Fleet Commander Zexthul found himself a prisoner aboard his own flagship, watching his career and his civilization collapse simultaneously. The Mordani Republic's most decorated military officer had become a symbol of alien incompetence, defeated by a species he had always considered primitive. His tactical officers provided increasingly desperate reports as human forces systematically dismantled council military power throughout the galaxy. Naval bases were captured or destroyed, supply lines were severed, and command structures were decapitated by precision strikes that seemed to anticipate every defensive measure. "How did we miss this?" Zexthul asked his intelligence officer. "How did they develop such capabilities without our knowledge?" The younger Mordani shook his head in bewilderment. "Commander, our analysis suggests they have been working on these technologies since before they joined the Council. Every diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange, every scientific conference was gathering intelligence for this operation." Captain Jake Morrison led the assault on the Council's primary shipyard at Alpha Centauri. The facility represented thousands of years of accumulated engineering knowledge, capable of producing vessels for a dozen different species simultaneously. It was also the largest military target in known space, protected by defensive systems that had never been tested in actual combat. The human attack force bypassed those defenses using the same nanite technology that had proven so effective elsewhere. Instead of destroying the shipyard, they converted it to human specifications, taking control of production facilities that had been building alien warships just hours earlier. Morrison watched alien workers evacuate the facility as human technicians, took control of the automated systems. The shipyard would continue operating, but now it would be producing vessels designed to human standards and built with human technology. The aliens had not just lost a military asset, they had provided humanity with the means to expand its fleet indefinitely. Dr. Elena Foster coordinated the final phase of the operation from her command center on Titan. The quantum phase generators that had allowed human ships to remain hidden were now being used offensively, creating spatial distortions that trapped alien vessels in pocket dimensions. Entire fleets found themselves isolated from normal spacetime, unable to escape or communicate with the outside universe. The technology was devastating in its effectiveness and terrifying in its implications. If humanity could trap alien fleets in parallel dimensions, what else could they do? Could they isolate entire planets or even whole star systems? The council races had no way of knowing the limits of human capabilities, which made their fear even more intense. Dr. Alex Chen remained in the United Nations building, coordinating surrender negotiations with alien ambassadors who had been desperately trying to contact him for hours. The communication blackout had left most council governments unable to reach their own diplomatic representatives, forcing them to rely on human communication networks to negotiate the terms of their defeat. Chen found the irony satisfying. For 15 years, the Council had controlled galactic communications, monitoring human transmissions and limiting their access to interstellar networks. Now the aliens were dependent on human goodwill, just to talk to each other. President Rodriguez addressed the galaxy again as reports of victory flowed in from across human space. Her second broadcast was shorter, but carried even more authority than the first. The Council's military power had been completely broken, their governments were in chaos, and their civilian populations were demanding explanations their leaders could not provide. "The old order is finished," Rodriguez announced. The Galactic Council's authority was based on military superiority that no longer exists. Humanity offers a new system based on genuine equality and mutual respect. Those who accept our terms will find us generous in victory. Those who continue to resist will discover that our patience has limits. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within 2 hours of her speech, 16 of the remaining council races had transmitted formal surrender documents. Their governments, faced with complete military defeat and popular unrest, chose submission over annihilation. The few species that attempted to continue fighting found themselves facing impossible odds. Their ships could not move, their weapons could not fire, and their communications were monitored by human intelligence services. Resistance became pointless when the enemy could predict your every move and counter it before you acted. By the end of the 6th hour, the last alien commander had surrendered. The Galactic Council, which had dominated this part of the galaxy for over 2 millennia, had ceased to exist as a military force. Their fleets were captured or destroyed, their bases were under human control, and their governments were pleading for mercy. Humanity had achieved total victory through a combination of superior technology, strategic planning, and psychological warfare. They had demonstrated that raw military power was less important than the intelligence to use it effectively. The aftermath changed everything. Within 1 week of humanity's 6-hour war, the political structure that had governed the galaxy for over 2,000 years had completely collapsed. The Galactic Council dissolved itself rather than face the humiliation of formal defeat, leaving 23 alien civilizations scrambling to negotiate individual peace treaties with their new human overlords. Admiral Lisa Parker stood on the observation deck of Titan Station, watching alien ambassadors arrive for what historians would later call the Titan Conference. The representatives of species that had considered themselves masters of the galaxy just days earlier now waited patiently for permission to speak with human officials. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The conference room had been hastily expanded to accommodate delegates from all the former council races. Each species had sent their most senior diplomats, military commanders, and government officials. They sat in carefully arranged groups, avoiding eye contact with each other and speaking in whispers. The proud alien leaders who had once dictated terms to humanity now looked like schoolchildren waiting to be disciplined. Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted to High Admiral of the newly formed Terran Federation Navy, a title that carried authority over both human and alien military forces. His first official act was to accept the formal surrender of the remaining council fleets at a ceremony broadcast throughout the galaxy. The alien commanders who had spent their careers believing in their own invincibility stood in neat rows before Morrison's podium. Fleet Commander Zexthul of the Mordani Republic was among them, his 4 eyes fixed on the ground in shame. These officers had commanded fleets capable of destroying planets, but they had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitives. Morrison's speech was brief and professional. He outlined humanity's terms for the surrender: complete disarmament of all alien military forces, transfer of advanced technologies to human control, and acceptance of human oversight for all future military activities. The terms were generous compared to what the aliens had planned for humanity, but they still represented total submission to human authority. Dr. Elena Foster found herself appointed as Director of Galactic Technology Integration, responsible for managing the transfer of alien scientific knowledge to human researchers. The position made her one of the most powerful people in the galaxy, with authority over research programs that had previously been restricted to specific alien species. Her first priority was cataloging the advanced technologies that humanity had captured during the war: the quantum shield generators from Kepler 442b, the faster-than-light communication arrays from Proxima Centauri, the matter conversion systems from Alpha Centauri. Each represented centuries of alien research that was now available for human development. More importantly, Foster began implementing technology-sharing programs that had been impossible under the old council system. The Zilani had always jealously guarded their energy manipulation techniques, while the Mordani had kept their metallurgy advances secret from other races. Now all of these technologies would be combined under human supervision, creating possibilities that no single species had ever imagined. Captain Sam Wright was assigned to oversee the integration of captured alien facilities into the human military structure. The bases and shipyards that had taken the Council centuries to build were now producing vessels designed to human specifications. Wright's engineers worked around the clock to modify alien technology for human use, creating hybrid systems that combined the best features of multiple civilizations. The work was complicated by the fact that many alien races used completely different approaches to engineering and design. The Thrakari built their ships using organic materials that grew rather than being assembled. The Zilani preferred energy-based systems that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Human engineers had to learn entirely new methods of construction, while adapting them to human needs and capabilities. Dr. Amy Foster expanded her biological research programs to include comprehensive studies of alien physiology and psychology. Her work during the war had focused on developing weapons against Council species, but now she turned her attention to understanding how different races might coexist under human leadership. The research revealed fascinating insights into alien behavior patterns. The Mordani, for example, were naturally hierarchical and actually felt more comfortable under strong human authority than they had under the chaotic council system. The Zilani were individually brilliant, but lacked the social cooperation skills that made human civilization so effective. The Thrakari were collective thinkers who made decisions slowly, but implemented them with incredible precision. Amy's recommendations led to the development of specialized administrative systems for each alien race. Rather than imposing uniform human standards on everyone, the new government created customized approaches that worked within each species' natural behavioral patterns while maintaining overall human control. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Torres became head of the new Galactic Communications Network, responsible for maintaining secure communications throughout human-controlled space. His quantum virus technology had evolved into a comprehensive information management system that could monitor and control data flow between thousands of different worlds. The network was more than just a communication system. It served as the nervous system of humanity's new galactic empire, providing real-time intelligence about political developments, economic trends, and potential security threats. Torres could detect the beginning of any rebellion or resistance movement before its organizers even realized they were being monitored. Dr. Alex Chen accepted the position of First Galactic Chancellor, making him the senior human official responsible for interspecies relations. His years of experience dealing with alien diplomats had taught him to understand their motivations and predict their behavior. Now he used that knowledge to manage a complex political system that included dozens of different species and thousands of populated worlds. Chen's first major initiative was the establishment of the new Galactic Alliance, a governing body that replaced the old council system. Unlike its predecessor, the alliance operated on principles of genuine equality and mutual benefit. All member species had representation proportional to their population and economic contribution, but humanity's dominant position ensured that human interests always took priority in policy decisions. The alliance's charter explicitly prohibited the kinds of discrimination that had characterized the old council. No species could be denied membership based on technological development or military capability. No race could be classified as inherently superior or inferior to any other. These principles were enforced by human military power, making them more than mere philosophical statements. President Maya Rodriguez addressed the inaugural session of the Alliance Assembly from the newly constructed Unity Station, built in orbit around Earth. The facility was designed to accommodate representatives from all known species, with specialized environments for races that required different atmospheric conditions or gravitational fields. Rodriguez's speech outlined humanity's vision for the future of galactic civilization. The new system would encourage scientific cooperation, promote economic development, and protect the rights of all sentient beings. The alliance would be stronger than the old council, because it would be based on willing cooperation rather than forced submission. But Rodriguez also made clear that human leadership was non-negotiable. The old council had failed because it lacked a single authority capable of making difficult decisions quickly. The alliance would succeed because humanity possessed both the power and the wisdom to guide galactic civilization toward a better future. The response from the former council races was mixed but generally positive. Most alien governments recognized that human rule was preferable to chaos or civil war. The humans had demonstrated both overwhelming military capability and surprising restraint in victory. They could have exterminated their enemies or enslaved entire populations, but instead they offered partnership and cooperation. Some resistance movements attempted to organize opposition to human rule, but they were quickly identified and neutralized by Torres's intelligence network. The few species that attempted open rebellion discovered that human military technology had continued to advance even after the war ended. Resistance was not just futile, it was impossible. Within 1 year of humanity's victory, the new Galactic Alliance had become more prosperous and peaceful than the galaxy had been under Council rule. Trade flowed freely between species that had been bitter enemies for centuries. Scientific research progressed at unprecedented rates as human administrators forced alien scientists to share their knowledge. Military conflicts became rare because human forces could intervene quickly to prevent wars from developing. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the largest fleet in galactic history, often reflected on how quickly everything had changed. Just 2 years earlier, humanity had been struggling for acceptance among species that considered them inferior. Now those same species competed for human approval and cooperation. The transformation had not come without costs. Humanity had been forced to abandon many of the idealistic principles that had guided